So, pick a massacre, coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. Now, I want to say this, that, and I've said this before, that the left are no strangers to lying. They will lie and steal and cheat and do whatever it is that they have to take to push their narrative in their message. And the reason why they have to do this is oftentimes the truth is just not with them. They want to hold on to their message so much so, but the truth is not with them, which means they have to resort to other tactics to push their narrative and their message. Well, in comes Dr. Umar Johnson with more of his nonsense and his jackassery. Now, he posts a lot of pictures, those still pictures up on YouTube, and he posted this particular picture, and it was entitled "Pick a Massacre." Now, he basically put up this picture with all these, quote unquote, these massacres that took place in America, in which white folks, quote unquote, massacred blacks, or white people did something to blacks. And of course, he was playing upon this notion of, this racist rhetoric of every time black folks try to do something, the white folks come take it away. Well, that was the purpose of this picture that he put up. Now, again, as I know, whenever I deal with leftists, especially the good doctor, but at this point, honestly, I think it's time to call him the mad doctor. But there's always some BS, and you got to always find it, because they're always going to resort to some trickery to try to push their narrative. In this case, I have to say he's using historical crime, because if you look at this picture he put up, basically there are 25 massacres that I counted. Of the 25 massacres, 12 of them were in the 1800s. So you got to run back all the way to the 1800s to find massacres to cry about, as if any of those massacres are relevant to black people today. And then 10 of those massacres happened before the 1930s. Once again, you're running to the past to try to fuel your race anger up to date. This is what racists commonly do. Now, I'm 50. And of all those massacres, only 2 of them happened within my lifetime. And that was the quote-unquote Philadelphia Massacre in 1985 and the Charleston incident in 2015. So since those are the only 2 that happened within my lifetime, I'm going to focus on them, and let's go over these quote-unquote of these massacres to see exactly what happened. So we're going to start with the one in Philadelphia. Now, there was a black liberation group called MOVE, and they were all about, black liberation, black theology, the fists in the air, all such and such, just like the pro-blacks, kind of like the Black Panthers. And it's basically, I think it started, the MOVE organization was founded in like 1972, I think a year before I was born. And basically, they had issues, the city of Philadelphia had issues with them, asked them to move. And at one point in time in 85, and this happened in May 13 of 85, they decided to raid their headquarters or whatever home they were, and they dropped what was called a satchel bomb on the roof. And as a result of this, a fire spread, and it burned down several properties. A lot of homes were burned down. A lot of property were burned down as a result of that fire, because it spread. I'm guessing it spread like wildfire, being in a residential area and a lot of homes around. So if something catches on fire and it spreads rapidly, it's going to burn down other homes. And this is exactly what happened. As a result of this, though, 11 people died, and 5 of those were children in the home that they were burned, basically the home that they raided. And I want to say that, and you can say that this is a massacre. They killed black children. They killed black people. If you want to call it a massacre, sure. But see, the thing is, this was a police raid, though. No, this wasn't the issue where white folks thought black people were getting, quote unquote, too uppity and decided to come take stuff away. This was a police raid. And most of these massacres are always along the same lines. Some conflict that takes place, some tension takes place. It wasn't a situation where white people looked at them and said, hey, they got too much, we need to go start taking it away, quote unquote. But I would say, if the police were wrong with this, I didn't investigate any further. I just got the information that I needed. If the police were wrong, they're wrong and they should be charged. But like I said, this was not a white folks coming to get the black man. This is a police raid. And that's not act like police haven't raided white people. White people haven't been raided. There have been plenty of raids that the police or law enforcement have enacted on white people. And the Branch Davidian come to mind. This basically took place in, I believe this was in 93. I believe it's in Waco, Texas in 1993, 91, 93, around that time. And basically, this was a compound out in the middle of nowhere in Waco, Texas. A bunch of white folks. These are white people who believed in the imminent return of Christ. So essentially, it was one of those cults, like Heaven's Gate or, such and such. Well, the police, law enforcement, and federal officials thought that they were stockpiling illegal weapons, so they decided to raid the compound. As a result, it caught on fire, the whole compound burned down, and the result was 76 people lost their lives. So that's almost, 5 times that of what happened in Philadelphia. But of course, he's not going to bring up that massacre. But the thing is that this took place, this compound was out in the middle of nowhere. Had this compound been in an urban area, in a residential area with a bunch of white folks, you tell me that multiple homes would have burned down? Wouldn't have burned down? Same thing that happened in Philadelphia. Like I said, the difference is this is in a compound out in the middle of nowhere. So let's not act as if police officers don't raid white folks. Let's not act as if only black people get raided by the police. So now let's talk about the Charleston incidents in 2015. Basically, this was the Dylann Roof incident. And if you're familiar with that incident, this is when Dylann Roof was invited into a church at a Bible study, and he killed 9 people in the church when he was there for Bible study. Now, Dylann Roof was sentenced to death, and as far as my knowledge, he's still in police custody, and he's still in death row. As far as I'm concerned, they can go ahead and do it tomorrow. Like, where's Robin Harris when you need him, But here's the thing, though. At the time, I remember this, at the time this was happening, that many 9 people were dying in Chicago like every 2 or 3 days. So you want to focus on those black people who were killed in the church, which is, again, it's a massacre. And as I said, they can give Dylann Roof, they can execute him tomorrow, and I won't lose any, hell, they can execute him today, and I won't lose any sleep over that for what he did. But let's not act as if there's other issues as black people we need to be concerned about. As I said, at that same time, every other weekend in Chicago, you were having 20, 30 deaths, blacks killing and shooting each other, but you don't focus on that. That's not a massacre we need to worry about. You don't put that massacre down. Again, these race hustles are a joke. And Dr. Umar Johnson is not about the benefit of the black community. At this point in time, he's just a race hustler trying to get money. Just like he's trying to hustle people money for this school, the FDMG Academy that they've been painting for 10 years now. The dude is a joke. His message is stupid, but people keep it following it. Either way, we see that, again, nobody's saying that America at one point in time was in harsh with black people. We all agree. It's just simply not the case anymore. And constantly dredging of the past makes no sense. But there's a reason why, if you look at those massacres, they all happened in the early portion of this country, but you don't see that many massacres going on today, except for what we as black people do. That's the massacre, what we as black people do to ourselves. But you notice he didn't put that massacre down. Anyway, y'all, that's my 2 cents on this ridiculous picture that he put up. And again, like I said, the massacres did happen, but they need to be taken in full context. And one thing that you don't get from the left is full context. You only get convenient context from them. But anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.